I think it all started as a journalism, though, didn't it? Tell us about how you kind of got started in that and how this evolved.
At the time, well, after doing my studies in France, the only thing I could basically do was write. And I was fascinated by what was happening at the time in Chile, which was the first example of a leftist government being elected to power. So it was the time of Allende. And I just went in September of 72 or something like that, and did political science at the Catholic University in Chile. And then, did some text.
But because you were there at the time to see a lot of incredible political things happening, right?
Absolutely. I mean, this was the place to be at the time, and doing political science there at the time was also really, very interesting. And I was there when the Moneda was taken over. I did an interview with Allende, with President Allende, with President Pinochet. I had the first ever interview before all the big network, ABC, CBS, and NBC. And I still have absolutely no idea how I got there. I think I was in a tunnel, and suddenly I was in front of him and his wife, and did the first ever interview of him after he basically became the number one member of the junta.
Now, were you working for Gamma at that time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And from there, when you had to leave, pretty much had to leave South America because of the political situation, then you moved here to LA.
I moved here to LA to open one of the offices of Gamma. Mm-hmm. I had opened their offices in Latin America at the time in Chile, in Argentina. I went to get contracts with all the major magazines.
Setting up Gamma's office here in LA was very different, though, than the South America situation. So how did that all come about, and how was that?
That was as remote and crazy an idea than one can think of. When one is a journalist in Latin America, and being French, or European for that matter, it was as good as you could do at the time. And when you decide to go to Hollywood, all your friends are looking at you and say, you must be insane. By then, the situation had become so difficult in Latin America. I mean, all of us journalists at the time were followed in the street. There was a lot of kidnapping, and
You're lucky you got out alive, actually.
well, at the time, there was a respect for photojournalists and for journalists, which doesn't really, exist anymore. But we could feel already that life was cheap.
What's some recent things that you finished up?
The last project that I finished actually was a project in an insane asylum in France, in the south of France, in Perpignan. I have a very good friend who moved there. She was a producer here and moved to be with her husband. And being a producer in Perpignan, she didn't have exactly a lot of opportunities to do what she's doing. And someone suggested that she possibly could work and help the inmates of that asylum. And she did what the only thing she really knew how to do, or one of the only things she really knew how to do, which was, making movies. So she suggested that they write the script, direct, produce.
The patients.
The patients,
write
yeah.
the script.
Write the script and of the subject they wanted to talk about, and direct a short film. It's a process, but basically it is their project, what they want to do. It's a patient's project. So I went there to photograph that process. And when I was there, one of the women, who is this absolutely gorgeous person, inside and out, said, listen, I would like you to take pictures of inside of my house. I never intended to do pretty pictures. When I did some, and I know it might sound pretentious or silly, but I never intended to do pictures of flowers for them to be looked at as pretty objects. At the time that I did it, my work was really a reaction to what I had done in the past, and said, okay, now I'm 40 or 50 years old, and I've taken pictures of the horror of wars, and now what? Nothing has changed. And what about looking at the beauty of the world instead of its ugliness, looking at the perfection of a flower, at the amazing beauty of a butterfly, and changing the weapon to entice people to live with nature, look at nature, and be in awe. How can you look at the flowers and kill someone at the same time? Probably very difficult. So I think it comes from a reaction to pictures of wars and of difficulties. So